Episode 27. Did you know that Mario Lemieux wore the number 27 when he first started playing organized hockey? I was 27 years old when I first met my wife on our very first date at ONB in downtown Toronto in 2011. 1927 was the year that the intradermal vaccine for tuberculosis was first administered, and in 1927, the S&P Composite Index rose a shocking 38%. It rose even higher the year after, before it all came tumbling down. Beyond MD, episode 27, here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 27 of the Beyond MD podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and thank you for helping to raise the podcast to new levels, new heights. None of this would happen without your support. Today, I'm thrilled to have Dr. Wing Lim, one of the co-founders of Physician Empowerment, join me on the podcast. And we're going to be talking about the growth mindset and why we feel that this is such an important topic. Wing is going to be talking about his path, what he's been able to accomplish, and why the growth mindset was so instrumental to getting him there. He'll be talking about why it's so important to overcome the tendencies to be risk averse and failure averse. He'll be talking about what he thinks about when it comes to his wealth and what he believes that other wealthy, successful people do think about. And we'll also be talking about why it's important to get off the mindset of always thinking about trading our time for money, and why it's important to dream big and think about creating something. Now, did you know that Physician Empowerment is hosting a live conference in Toronto on financial literacy for physicians from June 3rd to 5th of this year? Speakers at the conference include myself, Mamta Gupta, Paul Healy, Wing Lim, Kevin Milo, Dmitry Ranev, Mark Soth, also known as the Looney Doctor, Vukit Tran, and Michael Warner. I myself will be talking about arrival fallacy and why this phenomenon is so important when it comes to our personal, professional, and financial lives, and why I think it's important to focus on what we can control. So if you want to sign up for the conference, please feel free to check out physicianempowerment.ca/live. I will post this link in the show notes. Now, Dr. Wing Lim has been practicing family medicine for almost 30 years. His practice focuses on preventative health and geriatric home visits. He has extensive experience in practice management and business development. He co-launched the Sherwood Park Primary Care Network in 2007, which has more than 90 physician members. In 2009, he founded the Synergy Medical Clinic, which has grown to 37 physicians and serves more than 50,000 patients a year. He also co-developed the Synergy Wellness Center, which provides more than 55 services and services more than 500,000 patients per year. He's currently co-developing a 165-bed senior retirement facility. As you can see, Wing is experienced, and most importantly, he is passionate, and he loves to share his passion and knowledge in medicine, business, and beyond, and he's a mentor to so many of us. So with that, here's my interview with Dr. Wing Lim. Hey, Wing, welcome to the podcast. Where does the podcast find you?
I'm based in basically Greater Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay, awesome, Wing. So listen, I've had so many nice conversations with Kevin Milo today, and he's told me absolutely wonderful things about you. So for me to have this opportunity to connect with you, chat, and learn from you is a real privilege. So thanks for being willing to do this. So Wing, I think maybe first off, just give us a little bit of background on yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Sure. I'm trained as a family physician, and med school was a long time. In fact, med school I was a class of 1991. So that tells you my vintage.
Oh, okay. Where did you do med school?
U of A, right here in Edmonton. Yeah. So, and then I did the family residency program right here again. And so I've been in practice for 29 years. I'm half family medicine, half geriatric home visits. So my practice is a bit heavy in geriatrics.
Oh, very interesting. Wing, maybe you can take us through a little bit of your journey, because from what I understand, and I had a chance to just hear some of your videos, listen to you talk, and it sounds like your journey, you may have started as a solo practitioner, but then your journey kind of evolved into something a little bit bigger, on a larger scale, larger scope. Can you just take us through your journey a little bit, and then we'll maybe pick away at kind of how you got there?
Sure. So when I was graduating, there was a term called Ralphonomics. There's a guy called Ralph Klein, and he was slashing healthcare like there's no tomorrow, and we're losing 98% of our graduates to the States. It was on TV. He said that if you want to go, you're free to go. If you're here, you're free to grow. So I was the 2% that actually stayed behind. Maybe I was risk averse, maybe. and so, yeah, literally I lost 98% of my classmates. And so I stayed, and I actually bought a practice when nobody was buying practice anymore. Practices were given away. I found this little dream practice in a suburb called Sherwood Park, and my wife and I looked at each other and said, "This is our dream." So we bought it with money that we haven't got. We borrowed the money, bought the practice. Solo practitioner is like my own mini emerge. I got lab, I got X-ray. I had a blast, right? And so everything I went to school, I learned and I did, and I practiced. I had a fun time. I gave myself a cut of 20 hours per week, from 120 hours to 100 hours. So my wife was silly enough to have given up her career to chase my dream. We're building a clinic. So she's not a physician. So she works side by side, and we ran 16 to 24 hours a day for 16 months straight, nonstop. And then kids came, and you cannot just run like that, right? You know, you won't even have a marriage left, let alone any kids left. And I think what scared me was, this is it. I've done everything I could, as far and hard as I could. Am I actualized? You talk about this actualization. Am I actualized yet? Part of me really wasn't, right? And then there are a lot of hard lessons. I don't know if you want to dig into that, but a few hard lessons later, I thought, I cannot survive as a solo practitioner, doing delivery, hospital stuff, teaching, psychotherapy, everything, just one-man band. You can't even leave because there's no coverage. And people were leaving the province at that time, right? It's impossible to recruit physicians at that time. So anyways, long story short, I gusted up from solo practice to 6 physicians. And I was doing pretty good in the sense of controlling overhead. So my clinic pays for itself. I work with 0% overhead for myself. And then all the house calls that I do, I keep 100%. So I was at a crossroad. Do I continue? Do I not? And then my bookkeeper said, you know what? If you just do house calls, then you just keep everything. And I thought, yeah, all this toil and labor that my wife and I did just to help other people have a living, right? So there was a side of me say, to heck with it. So I was this close. I actually put the clinic on sale. I was dumb enough to pay somebody that I've never met $4,000, a lot of money at that time, and say, sell my practice. Now, of course, nobody had a wink even looking at the practice. And then I went to a conference, a leadership conference of all sorts in the States, just tens of thousands of people. And they talk about your legacy that you leave behind and say, if you're gone, what would you like to be remembered on your tombstone? And then on my way back on the plane, I was thinking about this dream that was deep buried during my residency days. I would love to build something that have everybody work together outside of a hospital setting, right? Like you have the doctor's lounge, and right, you see everybody in the hospital. But in the community setting, there is nothing, right? There's nothing, right? Most clinics are 1 to 2 people. I like to build something that would encompass everything you can think about ambulatory care, wellness, not sickness oriented, and surrounded by senior homes from one side, like a fan, like a wheel and spoke, from independent living, assisted living, all the way to long-term care, and everything connected. So the husband and wife, 80-year-old, 100-year-old, they don't have to be separated. So that was my dream, and coming back. And so even on the plane, when I was dreaming, when we talk about growth mindset, right, part of that is to dream. Before I was landing, a guy came over and said, hey, how do you think that conference was? And this is another physician. I said, I thought about this thing, and it takes, I guess, 20 acres of land. And he said, really? I got 20 acres of land.
Okay.
Right from the plane. Now, turned out that it wasn't his piece of land. It wasn't him. But that started the journey. So anyways, fast forward. And then at 5-6 years, we started to look at land, and we ended up, fast forward in a few years, we ended up opening up a wellness center that is 75,000 square foot, 2 stories, 5 acres. And today we celebrate our 10th year anniversary just last September. We have about 55 medical modalities, and we have about 2,000 patients a day going through. There, my solo practice became that 6 doctor clinic, became one with the 5 that we recruited, and we built a clinic. Now we're one of the largest clinic in Alberta, and primary clinic, and panel size is about 50 to 60,000 patients for the clinic, and that's about half the county.
Wang, that is an amazing story, and on so many levels, because you talked about how you and your wife were in this together, and it kind of reminds me I'm more junior in my career and I have achieved as much. But to this day, my wife sacrificed a lot for me. Everywhere I went to train, she kind of gave up so many things on her end. And so usually good things don't happen, I think, without a good partner in crime, right? Your comment about, going down from 120 to 100 hours a week, it just reminds me of so many of our colleagues, trading so much time and energy for money, right? So what you created, what is the name of your clinic? Well, what's it called?
So our clinic is called Synergy Medical Clinic, right? That's the clinic, which is a tenant in the building. The building is called Synergy Wellness Center.
Yeah. Wing, can you just tell me what triggered you to do this? Was you said going back to residency, you always deep down wanted to create something, but was there something along the way that triggered a switch? Like, did you at a certain point tell yourself, I can't keep trading my time and energy for money? What was it that really triggered you to do it?
Yeah. So, it's just you run as hard as you can. Some of the hard lessons, right? So I kept telling people, I went through the school of hard knocks, right? When you finish residency, you graduate as a technician. Like, we hate that term. We're doctors for crying out. We're not a technician, but we are, right? We know nothing about management. We know nothing about entrepreneurialism. So we graduate as technician. And then every lesson that we learn, we pay the tuition. And the tuition is your tears, bang your head against the door, and lots of money and time wasted, and then lots of failure, right? So nobody taught me about business, so I just wanted to go and practice for myself. We didn't know that we have to pay tax, right? We didn't think about it, right? When you have that little bit of residency income, tax wasn't a problem. But the first year, we had no money to pay tax. We did not know we have to save money to pay tax. In fact, our accountant says, borrow some money from the bank and buy some RSV to lower your tax load so that you can afford the tax. And so that was the first fiscal year. Second fiscal year, oh no, not quite. Christmas time. The first Christmas came after we bought the practice. We found that Alberta Health, that's who pays us. They close the doors for 2 weeks and they don't pay you. But we got staff to pay. We didn't know that. And so we didn't get paid ourselves. We forked up enough money, right? So these lessons, and then by the second fiscal year end, we already have a baby just born. He was still in the cradle, and we got an eviction notice.
Oh dear!
Yeah, wow. we went through a court appeal. The guy that I bought the practice from, a physician who sold the practice at age of 72 and died 73 and a half, following statistics 18 months later. Sad story, but at least he died on the golf course in Spain. But the building went into foreclosure where I signed the lease, and the new guy came in, wanted to punt us out and double the rent, and went to the lawyer. He says, "No problem, you have a case." And the day of the court, I wasn't there. I was too busy, right? I was on call, and the judge says that unless they're a single mom with 3 kids with no roof over their head, case closed. So with that, we lost everything. We got to pay my guy, my lawyer's specialist, the lieutenant specialist, his name is Buddy, pay buddies. The other guy, the landlord's legal fee, and we got the 30-day eviction notice November 30th, and tried to find somebody to move a clinic during Christmas. And we spent our Christmas with our baby in the construction site. So these lessons just swap you on the upside of the head.
Wow.
And tuition was really high. So you got to learn and say, okay, I got to open my eyes and ears and learn really, really fast.
Yeah, Wing, I feel like in that story alone, there's more than a decade of experience and so much challenge and trauma that you probably endured. I mean, many people would crumble in a situation like that. What do you think got you through it?
I guess we were stubborn, right? I just didn't know better, young and stupid, right? We just said, we're going to. Plus, I think it's because this is it. This, me, my wife, and our kid, right? This is it. This is our turf. We got to fight for it, right? I think it's survival mode kicking in.
Absolutely. Wing, that's an amazing story. I want to talk a bit more about the growth mindset. I know this is a topic that you are familiar with, and I love topics like this, Wing, because I think mindset truly is the most important thing, because if we don't have the right mindset, it's hard to take the right steps in the right direction. So, Wing, what does growth mindset mean to you?
Yeah, so I think the definition of growth is green every day. So something is new. So I got I'm plugged into a lot of nowadays called podcasts, way back as tapes and books. I'm dating myself. And I go to lots of conferences and I learn a lot. And some of the challenges that help me to reshape my mind, especially in the growth thing, is they ask you, when's the last time you've done something you've never done in your life? And I start to ask myself on a monthly basis, maybe sometimes challenge myself weekly basis, right? Like more often we challenge ourselves, the more we're challenged to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So another one, this was a global leadership summit I just attended last August. I know 2 Augusts ago. This like 45 countries televised this. This is giant. And you follow people and you listen to these leaders. Why would I listen to a 23-year-old? Because she has 13 million followers.
I know, it's crazy.
Well, me and my girlfriend, we just doodling. We started this 23-year-old. Okay, so we listen to make it to be a speaker. You gotta be somebody, right? So one of the guys, he says, let me give you an assignment, guys, for your leadership. Is I want you to find a few people, sit down for an hour or two, and make sure that they talk about stuff that you know nothing about.
Yeah.
You would open your mouth and get nothing to contribute. Book that meeting.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable situation to be in, but yeah.
For me, it's comfortable. Sorry, it's easy because I got kids. They're young adults. My son is a musician, and they're into anime, into technology, and all the tech stuff. Mm-hmm. Brought a few friends home, eat dinner, and they talk about things that I thought every word was English. I just don't know what to talk. I got nothing to contribute. So I qualify.
You know, Wing, I love that about challenging yourself and exposing yourself to a situation where you've never done anything like that before and you have no knowledge of that content. And it sounds like you're very in tune with what your kids do. And I honestly think that's a great way for all of us to stay sharp because we're in tune with what our kids are doing. We're going to be exposed to stuff that we were not while we were growing up. So, you know, growth mindset also to me is how we perceive the world around us and how we react to different stimuli in our lives. So if I, for example, look at criticism to some people, it can make them think in a negative way, but to other people who are on the growth mindset or follow that mindset, criticism can be opportunity for improvement. Mistakes can also be valuable in terms of providing valuable life lessons. And so, Wing, I really wanted to ask you, you've been through a lot, you've experienced a lot. You know, can you talk about the biggest mistake? And maybe that's not even the right term. Maybe we'll say suboptimal outcome. But maybe just talk about the biggest mistake that you made, whether it was a professional mistake, a financial mistake, what you learned from it and why you're better from it. Maybe just share that with us.
Sure. Well, there are so many. So I can write volumes about my mistakes, right? And which one do you want to pick? Yeah. So financial losses, right? Financial losses, trusting the wrong people and taking their word for it. And then you pay handsomely. And when you do a group project, you take other people's money and future with them, and go down a toilet at the same time. So I was in an investment club and everything sounded good. There's some really good thing to learn. And turned out that your mentor is a crook. How about that?
Okay.
Right? Your mentor is a crook.
Yeah.
Right. And then so you get everything in, and then you end up, this investment club grew and grew and grew. But so there was some good stuff, but then there was greed coming in. And then we got like a lot of people out of kids' school, right? One of our kids' school teachers, 65, she put her lifetime in savings into an investment project.
Okay.
Now we lost a ton, right?
Okay.
But that was all for her. Like I just felt so horrible, and I was not personally responsible. It's just that it was a buzz in town, and a kid's teacher got involved, and she lost it all.
Really?
Right. So and at the end of the day, I said to people that I came out of that exercise, I said, look, there's no shortage of smart people, no shortage of project, of money, right? Or opportunity, but there's a shortage. And there's no shortage of salesmanship, but there's shortage of integrity. And if you trust the wrong people, that's the biggest mistake.
Yeah, Wing, well said. And this actually segues really nicely into my next question. And again, it relates to finance. This is a financial literacy podcast. So When it comes to making the right financial decisions, we hear a lot out there, and we're growing up we're all living in a digital world now. Social media, I have my Yahoo Finance app, it's going off constantly. CNBC videos on YouTube, and we're getting so much information. And we're hearing from other people, hey, maybe you should consider doing this. Maybe consider investing in this instrument, avoid this other instrument. How do you, or what is your advice, Wing, to other listeners? And a lot of us are kind of maybe more early to mid career, but what's your advice in terms of when we're on our financial journey? How do we block out the noise and just kind of focus on, our path ahead? I'd love to hear this.
Yeah, so I think I can think of two little acronyms: YOLO and FOMO.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I learned this from my kids again, right? Right, you only live once, right? So I think by the time we're done, we have practiced delayed gratification, right?
Yeah.
We're broke students. We're so broke. We joke that we're so broke that poverty line was a good financial goal, right? We're so deep in the hole. And so we're fed up. I'm entitled to a BMW, whatever, right? So we get caught every time by YOLO. Then you make the wrong investment, right? YOLO, because of entitlement. It's my turn, right? My kids suffer enough. My wife's suffering enough. And second one is FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So people get slaughtered en masse. So Robert Kiyosaki, I read all his books. He says there's 7 levels of investors. The third is called pigs. They got slaughtered en masse. Yeah. Why? Because these are the OR room, doctor's lounge hot tips, locker room hot tips. That would get you every single time.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So to not fall for all that is to know what's your track. Right? And so everybody says, oh, I need to diversify, right? I think I learned early on, do not diversify. Diversification is actually a game to not lose, right? The wealthy, they put all eggs in one basket and watch the basket closely. So of all the 4 asset classes, the advice is pick one and be a specialist in it.
Interesting. Wing, you know what? So that is very interesting. And right now, the book that I'm just finishing up is called Cash Flow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. He mentioned the same thing in that book. It really made me think. I guess your advice, I find it interesting as well, because I think it goes against a lot of conventional wisdom. We are told to usually diversify. And if you're striving for, I guess, 7 to 8% returns annually, if you diversify with an ETF, that seems to work out for most people. So that's why I find your answer interesting. Again, I've talked to other physicians who are really successful. They're focused, for example, only on real estate. They learn real estate, they learn their market, and yeah, I know a lot of people who are doing really well that way. So I guess multiple approaches, but I appreciate you being so candid with that. So now maybe we can talk a little bit about risk as well, because truth be told, I think that a lot of us in medicine, I can't speak for everybody. I can speak for myself a bit and people I know, but some of us are certainly fairly risk averse. We entered medicine because we felt like it was going to be a secure job. And I can tell you, when I was growing up, my dad was a family doctor. And I just somehow, I remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a doctor as well. I want to be like my dad. And then the thing that my parents would tell me, Wing, is that medicine's great. You're going to have a stable income. It's going to be secure. But then I think when you have that mindset, you have a tendency to be, very loss averse and very risk averse. But at the same time, to adopt the growth mindset and strive for more and accomplish more, there are times when you need to take on more risk. So I'd love for you to address this. Talk to us about risk when you took on a little bit more risk in your life. I mean, you've commented on some of this already, but maybe just talk about risk and why it's important to accomplish more at times.
Yeah, so I think this risk management or risk mitigation is part of our practice, right?
Yeah.
Like every clinical decision we make, we deal with the risk, or when you report, look at the X-ray or DI image, right? You weigh the probability and do your report. But I think as people, we're really, really risk adverse as a profession. And the reason I say that, is because we are failure adverse. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. If we make mistake, people die. If we make mistake, there may be lawsuits. We get college complaints. And I don't know about your college, my college, encourage people to poke at each other's back. If you suspect your colleagues doing something wrong, report them, right? I have colleagues that make sure they would report on anything that is true or not true, right? That kind of culture, that kind of thinking is so risk averse. Like when we score, like growing up to have straight A, go to med school and graduate from it, we always been top students, meaning that you have stimulus, you have response, you form a good connection really quick. Multiple choice, you get the right one.
Mm-hmm.
So we have always been failure adverse.
Yep.
Sorry, in real life, that doesn't work. So to say that I'm really not risk averse as a doctor, I think you need to go to rehab to achieve that. I did. I have to, right? My tuition, my therapy session is 7-figure high, right? Through these failures, right? So to really deal with risk is to understand what is out there, and you have to know inside what you make up. So that's why financial quotient is not just an IQ, it's also EQ and AQ, emotional quotient and adversity quotient. Mm-hmm. And relationship quotient, right? Those 3 Qs are way more important than IQ. To deal with this risk thing is not just do a spreadsheet and whatever. No, it's very much a gut check, right? And at the end of the day, I guess you need to know plan A, plan B, plan C. That's the only way you can deal with it. Yeah, it's not a straightforward answer, but I have talks about risk, but you can go really fabricate. At the end of the day, it's a gut check. Can you handle the loss?
Yeah. So what I'm getting is there's no secret formula. You just kind of know within kind of what your risk tolerance is going to be. So kind of like a Gestalt thing. I get it. So Wing, maybe let's talk a bit about wealth and touch on the wealth mindset if we can. I want to know, Wing, somebody like you who's been through a lot, accomplished a lot. When it comes to wealth, what do you think about? What's your true north? What does wealth mean to you?
Right. Wealth, unlike most people think, is not income. We're broke at a higher level, right? We got paid 6, some doctors 7-figure. Mm-hmm. We're just broke at a higher level, right? So wealth is not determined by dollar, it's determined by time. How many days can you stop your active income and your lifestyle does not suffer? Your kids, your family, their lifestyle don't suffer. That is the true definition of wealth. And if you use that yardstick, I know people who build 1 million, 2 million a year, they're just broke at a higher level. We trade time for money, right? Yep. When you stop the time, you stop the money.
Yeah, that's well said. And right now, I'm actually in the process of taking a course by one of our physician colleagues, Matt Pointer. He runs an online course. And so he encapsulates, a lot of this really nicely. And he uses the term time affluence. Like that's what we need to kind of strive for: time, options, and freedom. And that's how we should be kind of viewing money as a tool to accomplish those things. So, Wing, can I ask you then, what do you think most about when it comes to money? Like when it comes to, I'll give you 4 things: earning, spending, saving, investing. Of those 4, what do you think most about?
I'll go with the 5th one. Multiplication and velocity. Yeah. Okay, so the multiplying factor of your resources, and what's the velocity of that?
Okay.
So people say, okay, I make whatever, 15%, whatever on that. Okay, the wealthy people don't think like that. They think about like money trees. How many money trees can I plant?
Yeah.
How fast does my money come back and build and do another tree? Right. So it's all about, I'm a serial entrepreneur, right? I built multi-million companies and I get myself a job. And as soon as I can, I get myself out of a job. I need to replace myself. That is so unmedical, because if you got to do it right, you got to do it yourself. That's where we went to school. A lot of my colleagues, especially specialist friends of mine, they would not trust anybody else work up. They got to start from scratch, right? If the radiologist did an echo, no, I'm cardiologist, I got to do my own echo. Right? You know the drill, right?
Yeah, it's
trust no one.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? But in the real world, you can't. You need to replace yourself. You need to find somebody smart. I look for people smart, 10 times smarter than me, and play with them, right? And hopefully I will need to be replaced ASAP. So the giant clinic that I built, the building that we built, I vote once in a while. We just finished a senior home, 156 bed senior home. This is everything state of the art. is north of $50 million. And if I go in, people don't know who I am. You replace yourself as soon as you can.
Wing, I'm really glad you mentioned that because I think a lot of us in medicine, I think it's just a lot of us are high achievers, perfectionists. And so when it comes to doing something, we are going to try and do everything on our own. And I can tell you that's probably my biggest struggle too. And I had lunch with a friend earlier this week, and he said, listen, if you want to accomplish certain things in life, if you want to start a business, you're going to have to delegate. You're going to have to take advantage of other people's skill sets and take things to the next level. You cannot do everything yourself. And so I got thinking about that. And so I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying, Wing. I really do. Now, can I ask you the book Cash Flow Quadrants? Have you read that book?
Yeah, I read every single book.
Yeah. Okay. So of those quadrants, like so for people listening who have not read that book, you draw a square, obviously divided up into quadrants. There's the left side, E and S, employee, self-employed, and then there's the right side, the business and investing quadrants. It's a very interesting kind of big picture way to look at things, I think. Not that I agree with everything in the book, but I think that layout is that roadmap is phenomenal. What quadrant do you favor the most?
Well, let me maybe add a little bit of addendum. These 4 quadrants represent 4 mindsets. Talk about growth mindset, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the mindset, not you're born with, the mindset that you adopt and train yourself to think in, to function in, will dictate your financial future. Not saying that one is better than the other, right?
Yeah.
So left side of people, they trade time for money, right? E stands for entitlement, right? S stands for Superman. You everything is super small, me, work your ass off, and then the S, right? Right-sided thinkers,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's good. It's good.
The B quadrant people, they leverage on other people's time and talent. The I people, they get high on OPM, other people's money. So that's where I want to be. That's why I train myself to be. It's in the I quadrant. And I try my darnest to be. B is not easy to do. And again, if you want to separate the S and the B, you need to read the book, right? But I can tell you that I heard another guy who's a very successful guy superimposed another concept onto this 4 quadrants. It's called systemization. That's one of my talks that we have accredited a 16-hour talk we just did last December. One of the talks is called systemization.
Uh-huh.
So E-class people, E-quadrant people, they work for a system. S-quadrant people, they are the system. Without themselves, you don't go to work. There's no system. That's when doctors cannot afford to take a day off. B quadrant people, they invent systems and sell them. That's the franchisors. And I quadrant people buy these systems.
Yeah. So, I think that's a good way to summarize it for sure.
Yeah. So for 90% of my colleagues who do fee for service, they spend the bulk of their time being the system. And that's why there is no freedom. There is never freedom.
So, Wing, you've talked about how many wealthy people you've come across, they may not diversify, but instead they may specialize, which is very, very interesting to me. And you've also kind of talked about the 4 quadrants. So E for employee, S for self-employed professional, B for business, I for investing. You've talked about how you like to spend most of your time in the I quadrant. So with all of this, I have to ask you, how are you using your money? How are you investing your money?
Right. So yeah, in the I quadrant, there are different asset classes, I guess. So if you want to go back to Kiyosaki's terminology, he's got people, paper, dirt, and commodities. Right. So people is business, paper is like stock, bonds, and all those ETFs, all those, right? Paper portfolio. People, paper, dirt. Dirt is real estate. That's where I function. And commodity was it's gold, silver, crypto, oil, gas, a lot of those. So these are 4 asset classes. As per his prescription, I think that's where I learned the most, and I recommend everybody to learn from there. You don't have to stop there, right? But you can all start from Kiyosaki stuff. It's good to cut your teeth in one asset class first, right? Pick one, right? Pick one of those and do everything you can to learn about it, and then you can move on. It's like learning a language, right? If you learn 3 languages at the same time, you end up speaking goobity ga, right? Right? like for example, a lot of European languages, Romantic language, you learn one and you can jump to the other easier, right? So there's some transferable skills and knowledge and whatnot, but I truly believe you start with one. Get good at it, then you can spill over. Yeah, but real estate is where I function mostly. I do a lot of startups. So the startups are more like a B class or B quadrant style. Now, there's a lot of confusion. Maybe if you allow me to digress a little bit. So when I listened to this ESB, I said, hey, I run a business. I am an entrepreneur. I own a clinic. Well, so what's the difference between S class business and B class business? There's a huge difference, right? I think we all went to school to become an S quadrant person, right? S means you're special, you're super, you are smart, you're always right, and you work your ass off. I think I mentioned that about an S, and you're the system, right? But B quadrant people, a B type of business, big business. Big business is so big that you cannot possibly know everyone. You cannot possibly do everything. Whether you go to work or you don't, the business just runs on with or without you. That's the B class, right? So I'm trying to build the B mindset kind of business startups. And so that's, I guess that's where I function most of the time. So B and I would be real estate.
Wing, speaking about other influential figures, I recently heard a really nice podcast where Ray Dalio was the guest. And he actually summarized the podcast by saying that he believes it's really important to try and make work and passion the same thing, to try and align those two as best as possible so that we are happy, so that we are productive and we do good and bring good to the world. Having been through all that you've been through, do you have any advice on, let's say, I know a lot of doctors they're stressed, they're burnt out, but is there a way to kind of elevate ourselves at work to ensure that our work and passion is a little bit more aligned? Any advice there?
So yeah, I totally agree with that. I heard a different saying, maybe it's said in the same way, right? But love what you do what you love, and you haven't worked a day.
Yeah.
That's the saying that I got, right? And I think these one-liners really help me shape my thought. Right, talking about the growth mindset, is I feed myself as many of these one-liners as I can. So back to the question. So how do we do that? Do that balance, right? So this is one of the other talks that we've done, and that's called a hedgehog concept. I don't know if you've ever heard of hedgehog.
No, I haven't.
It's from the book Good to Great from Phil Collins, and it's bestseller. This is one of the toughest book I've ever ground through. Good to Great. Anyways. So the hedgehog is what the great companies go from good to great. Anyways, I will string that into something really simple. The three circles. Okay, when the three circles coincide, you and your team become unstoppable. And actually, our clinic went through this exact hedgehog when we were struggling with debt. That's how we became the biggest clinic in the province. The circle number one is what you're best at, what you already know, not what you want to, but what you already know, your core competency. I can be best at this.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second circle is I love doing this, even if I don't get paid, even if I have to dish out some money to it. I love this is my passion. So you just talk about those two. The third circle is what's your economic engine. Okay. The third is really important. What's your dollar over X? What is it? What is it that makes your engine tick and grow and go and make you profit? Anybody personally, corporately, or organizationally have those three circles just coincide? Watch out. They are absolutely non-stoppable.
Wing, I love that. And that matches up really nicely with something I read recently. So I recently finished reading a book called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. And Jay Shetty is a storyteller. He used to live in India as a monk, and he came back to the Western world to share all his stories and experiences. And so he also said that if you were going to make something thrive, make a business thrive, three criteria have to be met. So you have to have passion. You have to be good at it, or it has to involve an area of your expertise. And then that project has to bring some good to the world. It has to be of use to the world. And the word that he used was dharma. So dharma encapsulates those three things. And so I love what you're saying, and I completely agree with it. And Wing, the last question is, and maybe I'll just change this one up a little bit. If you could give advice to yourself 20 years ago, what would it be?
Take more risk.
Yeah.
Now, let me qualify that statement. When I finished my training, I have a preceptor that really liked me, and he was going to take the risk and build a clinic and have me work there. I didn't have to fork up a dime. And my wife, we just newly got married at that time, and she said that, go for it. I said, that's too risky. We start from zero. What if we have no patient for a month? We couldn't pay rent.
Yeah.
Right? That's how risk adverse I was, right? So fast forward, when we signed for this building, this synergy bonus, it was $13.5 million unlimited guarantee loan.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a few coins, right? And so of course, in between, there's a lot of growth that happened, right?
Yeah.
But what scared me is the risk adverse mentality, the failure adverse mentality. If I were to have sold my clinic and done house calls, I think I'll be okay, right? Financially, we're not going to starve. But these 500,000 visits a day that Synergy Wellness offered would not have happened. Really, when you think about the best advice professionally or for money, for finance, for your family wellness, right? We just got to dream it big. We got to dream it big. We have the seed of greatness in us, every one of us. And that was our dream, right? At that time, to be a physician. Okay. So we climbed that mountain. What's next? Right? The minute we stop dreaming, we start to rot. We start to smell. We start to smell stinky. Like most of the staff, man, right? And crack a joke and you have to laugh, right? Like people go into power trips, right? Like all the bad stuff happen. When we have a dream, we can go through 120 hours a week and won't burn out. When you think about that, we wouldn't burn out because we had a dream, right? So again, I'm not saying that doing that 120 hours. No, I want to work less. But to achieve the greatness, to achieve the potential, right? To be the biggest blessing to mankind, including your own kids, right? We got to do something different. And that answer lies within here. And the connections, the relationships that we need are built in already. We're 6 degrees related with everyone. I was told that we're 3 phone calls away from the next person that you need in your life. Yeah, so we just need to dig deep and say, what is the big dream?
Wing, that's a beautiful message. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people. I was going to follow it up with another question, like how do you train yourself to think that way? Because I can tell you, Wing, myself, and I know so many other people who are at my career stage, we are very risk averse. But I know a lot of us want to come out of that and we want to kind of break through that shell and do more, but it's about training ourselves. So I like your message of dreaming big and always thinking of something bigger. And I guess with time, if you follow those thoughts, hopefully you're going to train yourself to not just think that way, but act in that way too. So Wing, I just want to thank you for your time. Just to sit down and talk with somebody like you who's gone through so many experiences, started a business and succeeded in doing it. I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you have to say. So thank you for joining me.
Well, I'm really privileged. So yeah, I think I want to also congratulate you with your podcast. I think you've reached a lot of people. And this is a breath of fresh air. Like when med school finished 30 some years ago, there was nothing, right? There's nothing. I got 1 hour of health economics in the whole training. And I'm so glad to rub shoulders with people like you. I feel really privileged. And I think together we can impact lots of people. And I look forward to hearing you on stage in June.
Hey, pleasure. I mean, thank you for those kind words. And yes, I'm very excited for June. I'm really excited to meet you in person along with the rest of your team. And yeah, I'm really pumped for the conference in June and look forward to hearing you speak as well.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's a wrap for today. Thank you again for taking the time to be with me. Now, I do hope I see some of you in person at the Physician Empowerment Conference in June. I think it's going to be a great time, lots of learning, lots of growth, and most importantly, a chance to see some people in person. I've had the chance to have many wonderful conversations over the last couple of years, and it would be great to see you people out. We can learn, we can party, we can drink a little bit. It's going to be great. And in the meantime, if you're looking for more content, feel free to check out my YouTube channel for Beyond MD. And then also you can check out beyondmdpodcast.com for blog posts. That is going to be building up with time. Thanks again, everyone. Until next time, stay well and stay savvy.